Our first speaker is Sardana Khan, talking about challenges of aligning assessments to the graduate attribute of teamwork in the online learning and teaching platforms. Sardana is the recipient of multiple awards, including particular relevance for today, Gold Certificate for her unit coordination and teaching roles at the School of Business and Law at CQU. Her research interests include high performance work systems, decent work, gig economy, leadership, offshoring, sustainable supply chain management, international business, and HR analytics. Sardana, can I hand over to you?
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce myself a little bit more, though you have done a really good job. I will be talking about the challenges in aligning assessment to graduate attribute of teamwork, especially in the online or virtual learning and teaching platforms. I'm Sardana Khan from School of Business and Law. Basically my major area is human resource management, but also many research units I have coordinated. So last semester I was coordinating a new unit, an undergrad unit, which is related to training and development, very linked to HR major courses. And there was a teamwork involved there. But this was my first experience with that unit and the teamwork component there. Earlier in other universities also I have experience with teamwork, and I have encountered many problems even in campus setting where you had to manage a truly multicultural, multilingual community. And there were different kinds of problems we faced in that situation, but in virtual platform, because now we have 85% to 90% students who are enrolled as distance student, and the rest 10% who wanted to be on campus are still stranded in their own country. They couldn't come to Australia, so they had to attend all their units for over almost a year in an online platform, just like the distance students. And they actually included themselves in the distance student group because there were not too many. So we had to accommodate them like that. So very different kind of problem I encountered this time. So I will reflect on that mainly. And obviously I'm going for a unit change proposal for the assessment part for next year for this course. So I would definitely like to know what you think about these policies that I have thought about. So starting with teamwork assessment, the first thing I had in my mind is that why not eliminate teamwork assessment altogether for this unit, and we can still have really good skill development in other areas. But the problem is that we align the graduate attribute of teamwork to this assessment, and I don't want to break that tradition. One of the reasons is that. But the other thing is that from many literature, we already know the importance of teamwork in industry or employability of the student. And we take pride in the employability of business students from CQUniversity. And one of the major skills they develop through teamwork, obviously it includes both hard and soft skills, such as communication, negotiation, cultural intelligence, leadership, followership. These are all soft skills, but time management, technology, all of these are some of the hard skills, relevant hard skills that they develop through group assessments and teamwork. But it is being more important in the industry now for employability as well during COVID. Many different literature, recent literature I have seen, which suggested that in virtual world, teamwork has taken a new dimension. Like you have to have international collaboration. So many people from different language and cultural background are working in virtual teams. And so this is a very important skill for future. And because we have, due to prolonged lockdown, we got used to working from home. Virtual teamwork is becoming more and more important. And this skill we cannot ignore anymore. So therefore, that particular policy that I thought I would develop, it was no longer an option for me. Now, The other part is that sometimes teamwork or group assessments are enjoyable. It actually engages students more, whether they like it or not initially, but they develop positive energy out of it after they have gone through it. So these are some of the reasons why we want to have some kind of group assessment in many of our units, if it is appropriate. So that's one of the things. So compromising this team assessment was not one of the options. Rather, we had to, or I had to come up with some ideas which will make it more effective, enjoyable, and administratively less troublesome. So there are some challenges in administering group assessment. I'm sure all of you know it, and I have collected it from current teaching related literature as well. So one of the problem was always free riding, dominating, and conflict management. So basically, some people are free riders and they enjoy teamwork only because of that, because they can actually depend on others to do their work. So that's one of the problem. And this is a situation that other students who are more serious and engaged, they don't like. Obviously, they feel a sense of inequity, etc., and fairness in marking. We feel the dilemma of whether we are being fair to mark them similarly in some components. The other part of it, which is opposite to free riding, I would say, in a way, is dominating. So some students who are really serious, engaged student and always want to showcase their own skills and opinion, they can actually dominate the team situation or group work, which discourage or unempower in many ways other participants in the group work, and they feel like, okay, she or he is doing fine, so we will just back off and let him do all the work. So they're not really traditionally, originally free riders as but they feel like that whatever they say is not going to be accepted because it's not good enough or something like that. So they kind of take a back seat. So this can be one of the problem as well, usually in group setting. Conflict management is another problem, because when somebody is dominating or free riding, it creates conflict in many cases. So basically the slackers as well as the dominating personality, they both can create problems in terms of conflict in the teamwork, and it can be a very frustrating experience for both. So these are some of the common problem. Equity fairness, as I said, is very much linked to the conflict, and we find it as a marker or unit coordinator that sometimes we know that somebody has done really well and they communicated and all that, but we can't find the scope to mark them better for it. So that is a problem we face also. And administrative issues are there, because if there is a conflict, obviously unit coordinator or marker are being communicated by the people who are in conflict and can't manage it on their own. So you have to address those problems, and there are back and forth email and traffic. So your workload increases double, triple for one assessment. So that's an administrative issue, but also group formation. What will be the composition of the group? These decisions are also part of the administrative problem, especially in the virtual world, where I face the problem of on-campus, off-campus students, like distant and on-campus students, international students who are still in their country and have no exposure to Australian culture or education culture per se. I had to sort of accommodate them. I shouldn't use the word force, but accommodate them on the last minute in some group or the other, kind of begging or urging to the group to take him because he has no other community to get into. Obviously, we want to select randomly in some cases just to improve the cultural sensitivity and cultural intelligence of everyone. And you have to step out of the comfort zone in a group work. So that skill we want to give them by random selection, but it has an impact on engagement. It has an impact on outcome of the teamwork. So the cohesion part is missing, but at the same time, we don't have the luxury in today's industry to work in a comfortable, cohesive group always. So, and especially because we are geographically dispersed and we can work in virtual teams, especially in IT industry or similar other industry, global organization. So without physically meeting each other ever. So all of these things are kind of like a contradictory issues, like contradictory, some skills you want to develop and the other skills then suffers. So how to manage the whole group work or teamwork in a way which provide the maximum benefit for maximum skills or upcoming skills that will be more valued in emerging economy. So all of these are kind of making group assessment more challenging than before. So I have included that in emerging challenges in the virtual learning and teaching platform. So some of the emerging challenges, one particularly is technology. The other is the cultural integration, especially when nobody meet each other face to face. Because when you can meet face to face, or at least you are living in Australia or a different situation and understanding or gathering information from your surrounding culture, you change your attitude and become more comfortable in your new group. But if you are still staying in your own country and you have absolutely no clue to how to communicate with each other, and the technology is very new to you as well, and getting help from TASAC, obviously TASAC is very helpful and virtual platform are available to get help. Still, it is very complicated for many international students. So these are some of the problems or challenges I faced. I will actually stop sharing the slide for a while and I will share a Word document with you, which will show you, just a minute, I have to find the right document. I think, yes. So please let me know if you can see my Word document. All right, thank you. All right, so I will just show you some of the email. Of course, I changed the name of the students just to maintain the privacy. So here you can see the bold letter. I have uploaded my part of the assessment and have seen that we had a third member allocated. So this third member she was talking about, he could enroll properly and see Moodle, etc. in week 3. And by that time, the group was already formed. So he got included in as a third member of the group. We had allowed up to 3 members in the group. So anyway, she was already, this lady, she was a working lady and she's from Australia, local Australian. She was already working with another student who's from China and he was in China. So it was a little bit more challenging for her than other groups. So there comes the equity issue, because she's managing a very different group. Of course, she's learning more skills out of it, but I mean, she feels frustrated at times trying to communicate with them who are in different time zone altogether, because they have to meet virtually as well through Zoom or something like that, Teams. But matching the time was very difficult for them. So already she did her work, so she was frustrated. She uploaded her part, and then they had the shared drive. I asked them to have the shared drive where they can work together. So then all of a sudden this other guy got included because he had no other place to go, to be honest. And so anyway, she was gracious enough to include the person last minute. And I have obviously given some extension as well to 2 of them because they had initial issues of being included in the group. So it worked out fine, but there was administrative issues involved with it. Now, there is this other example of conflict, free riding and inequity, sense of inequity. These 2 students are from they are local Australian students. Both are, one of them are working actually. One of them were very engaged and very good student, I would say. And the other one was a little bit busy in the work, and communication was very slow on her part. So what happened is the serious student got really frustrated. She is too late in adding her information into the report. I fear that it will make a negative impact on my grade, etc. This sort of communication came from this lady. So I have gone through back and forth because she has been communicating with her teammate for a long time, and she couldn't get the email. Like after 1 week, she's responding, and then there is this deadline. So, so I told her, gave her a couple of good advice, obviously, and finally, as you can see in the red mark, red fonts. So after almost 20-30 email back and forth to me and to her, she finally contributed, Brooke, who is her teammate. Obviously, I changed the name. She finally contributed. And so she said, okay, thank you for your help, because I had to be the counselor as well, like convincing her that it can still be done, and she will, I had to try and convince her that she will be appreciated for her work. But the problem is that I'll come to the student feedback later. It was not too bad, but I had two significant qualitative comment which addressed the first assessment, which is the teamwork. And all the negative impression about the assessment was about teamwork. So I will definitely share that with you. I will probably make it a little bit smaller to let you know. Now, in any teamwork, we try to address the issue of free riding by making a contract, by making a part which is individually marked, etc. So these are traditional way of handling these issues, right? So we did have 5% mark on registration on time. So if you register on time, you get 5%, but you have to understand that 25% mark reduced to 5% means 1.25 marks only. So it's not significant. So all the other parts you can see here are mainly group parts. But personal part is PowerPoint presentation, not this one even, this is group part. And personal presentation skill, which is only 10%, which translates into 2.5 marks only. And this one is basically what they can earn by virtue of their individual contribution. The last part, which is 5%, again 1.5 marks, which is group work contribution and reflection. So they reflect on their own performance and the peer. So if you have 2 or 3 members group, there is not much of a reflection from which you can see who is actually the culprit or free rider. So you can't identify and mark them down, because that's not the purpose of this one. It is just to maintain accountability. So if you really write as honest and good self-reflection, you get 5% marks. So basically, altogether, only 5 marks is probably associated to individual effort or engagement out of this 25% mark. So the problem is that this is not enough for engaged students who are doing 20 emails back and forth just to make sure the people are engaged. It is very unjustified, in my opinion, to their effort. And that sense of frustration has been reflected in the evaluation. So as you can see, the overall satisfaction, etc., was good. And considering that this is the first time I'm doing this unit, I was happy with the evaluation. But assessment task obviously had 4.1, which is something I aspire to increase, obviously, next time. So one of the reasons I kept the assessment as it is because it worked fine. From the previous year's evaluation, I didn't see any problem, but a year before it was problematic, and then right before me, it looked quite good. Everything was above 4.2 or 3. So the student feedback shows that the assessment tasks, but you have to understand that was a different situation, pre-COVID situation. So I guess that had some impact. So assessment task in the student feedback, the qualitative part shows that it needs improvement. So the first assessment, which is the group work, incredibly frustrating. So I agree with them, and not worth 25% marks. So that there is another policy issue I identify from here. And plus the group work didn't suit well with the type of assessment, that is business report. To some extent, I do agree with that as well. Assessment 1 was a bit confusing in regards to group registration. And I tried to find a simpler way to register, because they had 3 links, 1 link to register, another link to submit their group part, and the self-reflection was the third submission link for 25% marks. So I know how frustrating that could be. So all of these are, I think, some of the problems that we faced. So I'll start sharing my slide again. And I know that I'm probably running short of time.
Gives us about 18 minutes, Sardana.
All right. So I'm just completing my discussion actually here. I hope you can see my slides now. Back again. So basically how to address these problems. We already traditionally used contract and reflection, like we make a contract and which role who will play and when. And the reflection part, usually if you have 3 or 4 people, then you can identify who is the free rider from their reflection or their own marking, so they can mark each other as a peer. But in many cases, they actually figure out a way to mark each other well together so that nobody gets disadvantaged or benefited. So that doesn't work quite well either. Using technology to monitor contribution, I have used that in one of my unit in another university, La Trobe University actually. So one of the unit had this 4-member team, and we used OU Wiki in there. And now we have Microsoft Team as well, our shared drive, etc. But what we can see with OU Wiki is the percentage contribution or how much net time they're spending on each assessment, so each group member. So based on that, we can differentiate between their contribution. The problem with OU Wiki is that those free riders, they just upload garbage things which need to be deleted by somebody else who is more better, and they actually finally submit a good one, but their percentage is already counted in OU Wiki. So this is the thing they do in order to give an illusion that they're not free riders, but they are. So marking becomes incredibly tedious to check everybody's contribution and then proportion it to their marks. So administrative issues again. So if you use OU Wiki, for example. So marking rubric and distribution, as I showed you already, having very little segment of it as personal contribution is not fair in my judgment. So at least 50% of it should be judged accordingly. The rest 50 can be probably a group mark. And effective placement of the teamwork assessment, like where are you placing it? There should be some formative teamwork, not marked, formative part of it, which they can do earlier to form a team and see how each person is contributing, and then do the presentation as a group work, which will be marked. All right, by that time, I think they will have a pretty good idea who are the free riders and whether they want to work with them or not. So those who get kicked out of the team before they even form the team, through those formative assessment or formative activity, team activity, they will have to form their own group. So they will, I don't know whether it will be equitable or fair. That is something I'm still dwelling in, because if they're kicked out on the last minute, will they be drifters or in a more difficult situation, and that will add more trouble administratively. So these are some of the problems we are thinking of. Obviously, we have more technological support now, but one of the things in literature they suggested is that team role or composition related theories should be linked to team assessment, formation of team assessment. And if we can, because we can't do it very properly, there still exists some problem in team administration or group work administration, and effective transfer of or development of skills that we want to develop from a team experience or a group experience. So that's it from me, and I think we should start discussing about it now. I'll stop sharing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sardana. I think I speak for all of us knowing that what you talked about is highly relevant for us all as educators. Any questions in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself?
Hi, Sardana. I'm Sandy Barker from UniSA in Adelaide.
Hi, Sandy.
And I'm loving your background because I wish I was in Queensland. But just wondering, I'm in the business faculty here as well. Do you take students through to work in a team? Do you give them any training or guidance as to how to work in a team? Because one of the things that I've found with teamwork specifically, even with students coming to third year is they've worked in teams or groups in assignments through first year and second year, but nobody's actually given them any guidance into how to actually work as a team.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've found is hampering the development of their skills, because we're actually thinking that, hey, they know how to work in a team because they've done it in first year and second year and high school, and but nobody's actually giving them guidance on how to do that.
Yes,
So,
Sandra, I think you are right, but we had a very detailed document for that. Actually, my previous unit coordinator developed it, so I was happy that, okay, that guideline is there with the assessment resources. But the problem is that the free riders who are intentionally doing the free riding, they're not affected by any of it, but it improves the others, I think. Those who are dominating personality or really good student, they sometimes, they can benefit from those guidance. But if you want to be the lazy person and you want to take advantage of others, maybe that's not going to be effective, I'm thinking. What do you think, Sandra?
Well, I think one of the things that, we can give them resources, but physically, I take my students through activities for the first 3 weeks that tell them how to work in a team, look at the different roles in team environment, how the effect of personality and decision style on the impact of a team. It helps. That's around the core of my course that I teach in business decision making. But in saying that, every student needs to have some idea of the role they're going to take on, and how to handle a dominator and how to handle a lurker or a free rider, so that and if we don't do those activities in class and get them actually thinking about how that impacts, just giving them a document, I don't think works.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. That's my plan, actually, to divide this work. Part of this work should be as a formative assessment of teamwork, which we can administer during the workshop. The problem is that if you have 85% distance student, they don't actually appear in the workshop always, and they're working as well, so they watch the video later. But still, I mean, if we do some activity, whoever participates with them and others watch the video, and we can give them some platform where they can work together according to their own timing. But still, if some people are 5 hours in a different time zone and other people's are working, it is very difficult to do time management in the virtual situation across globe. That's one of the problems we will still face probably, but I still believe what you are saying is right. Like if we have other formative team formation exercises in the classroom, then it will help them identify who has what problem and how to manage them earlier than just to get into the group work right away. Any other suggestion or question would be appreciated. I'm still writing my change proposal, so I can incorporate many things, I guess.
What I might ask is, I'm sure there's other reflections and comments and questions. If we could save that till the end now, sure, and introduce our next speaker. Thank you again, Sardana.
Thank you very much.